Lobotomy Corporation, a game where if you play through the end, it will suck your soul out, leaving you a husk of yourself, never laughing nor smiling. Or you're like me that already had their soul taken away by another game. If you're wondering what game that took my soul, well, it's a little mobile game by the name of Battle Cats. Battle Cats is like selling your soul to the devil. At first, you'll be enjoying your time and laughing at all the ridiculous cats. Then, in mid game, you'll start to have doubts. Maybe I should stop playing the game. It's becoming harder and harder by the second, but I'm too far in it to stop now. Then, in late game, you'll be nothing but a husk of your old self, knowing nothing but pain and suffering. Anyways, back to Lobotomy Corporation. For those who don't know what is Lobotomy Corporation, it's a management simulator where you play as the manager of a facility that houses various different abnormalities to produce energy. You might be wondering, how can abnormalities produce energy? Well, by sending one of your employees to work with the abnormality, it will produce a special chemical called enkephalin, in which turns into energy or PE boxes. And depending on which of the four work types you assign for a abnormality, it can either yield more or less PE boxes. You will also gain PE boxes for that specific abnormality to spend on information on them and their equipment. You can only use the PE boxes you gain from that abnormality to use as currency for that abnormality alone. So I'm certain that a few of you that has never heard of Lobotomy Corporation are already thinking, that doesn't seem too hard. Well, in paper, it is. If the entire game was like how I described it, it would be bloody easy as hell. Though I did leave out one very crucial detail. You see, the abnormalities have some special characteristics and abilities that make them quite difficult to work with. Now, to explain the abnormalities, I first need to explain the four different work types and its corresponding stats and damage type. You see, some abnormalities like different work types. Some like instinct, while some like repression. And by doing different types of work, you will also increase the stats of your employees. Not only would it make your employees much stronger, they can now perform higher levels of each work. Anyways, enough about me rambling on. Let me explain each one of the work types. First, we have fortitude or instinct work. This is your standard physical work. Anything that involves touching or interacting with the abnormality in a physical way would fall under instinct work. Doing instinct work with the abnormality will increase the fortitude of the employee. The higher the fortitude of an employee, the higher the max HP they have. Its corresponding damage type is red damage. It is blunt force trauma. If you hit someone with a blunt object, that's red damage. Second, we have prudence or insight work. Insight work revolves around intelligence. This work type is all about observing the abnormality, figuring out what the abnormality likes in their environment and making appropriate adjustments for better results. Doing insight work with an abnormality will increase the prudence of the employee. The higher the prudence of an employee, the higher the sanity points they have. Its corresponding damage type is white damage. It is psychological damage or online bullying. If you told someone that you've seen white crayons more useful than them, then afterwards they went insane, that is white damage. Also, if you're confused on what is sanity points, it is like HP but for white damage. Third, we have temperance or attachment work. This work type, as the main name implies, it's about being a playmate or companion to the abnormality. It mainly focuses on building bonds with the abnormality. But don't get overly attached to any of them because who knows, maybe one day you won't be able to wake up anymore. Doing attachment work with the abnormality will increase the temperance of the employee. The higher the temperance of an employee, the higher the success rate and work speed when doing a work with the abnormality. Its corresponding damage type is black damage. It's a combination of red and white damage, meaning it can hurt you physically and mentally, like an abusive ex, not only breaking you mentally as well as physically. And finally, the fourth and last work type, we have justice or repression work. Repression work is the complete opposite of attachment work. It is all about removing your emotion and desire and replacing them with rationality and logic. Doing repression work with the abnormality will increase the justice of the employee. The higher the justice of an employee, they will have an increase in their attack and movement speed. Its corresponding damage type is pale damage. This damage type will directly hit the soul of the target, doing massive amounts of damage. Pale damage will reduce the HP of the target. So that's all of the work types and stats as well as damage types. So remember when I said each abnormality has a special characteristics or ability? Well, you see, at first you don't know what it is. Hell, you don't know anything about the abnormality when you first get it. Even their name, all you get at first is a code name. And that's where the game's main element kicks in, trial and error. Every day you'll be given a new abnormality, sometimes even two, and you just have to try your best and figure out what is their special ability without anyone dying. Example, I sent this employee to do attachment work with this new abnormality. Oh, it went well. It seems to like attachment work, so I send another employee. Oh, it killed my employee and it escaped. I wonder why. Then you use the PE boxes you gain to unlock some of its managerial tips. That's where you figure out its Clive counter lowers if you send an employee with Temperance level 3 or above. If you're wondering what's the Clive counter, it just tells you how much time you can mess up before the abnormality escapes or it uses its special ability. Anyways, with this knowledge, you reset the day and send somebody with a Temperance of level 2 and you manage to get all of its information as well as its ego equipment. And it is revealed what is risk level is. It's a heat class. You see, each abnormality has a different assigned risk level. Going from weakest to the most dangerous, we have ZAYIN, Teth, He, Hua, and finally Aleph. The higher the risk level, the more dangerous the abnormality is, as well as having more expensive information. And you can gain more PE boxes from them as well. Anyways, so that's basically the gameplay loop of the game. Get a new abnormality, send somebody in to work with it, they die or don't, figure out its special ability, and get all of its information as well as its equipment. It's a very simple gameplay loop, but a very effective one. Well, that was a long explanation. But anyways, some of you might be wondering, why did I have to explain all of that? Well, it's because if you didn't read the title, I'll be ranking every single one of the ZAYIN class abnormality. And I want everyone, even the people who haven't played Lobotomy Corporation yet, to understand my ranking and my thoughts. Though I do recommend playing the game first before you watch this video because it's going to be a massive spoiler for every single abnormality in the game. And the main selling point of the game is to figure out the special abilities of each abnormalities on your own. But I don't judge if you just don't want to play the game or you just don't care, that's fine. So, let's get into how I'll be judging them. I'll be judging them in 5 different categories. First, how useful are they for the facility? Second, how do their special abilities work? Third, how hard are they to manage or to suppress? Fourth, how good is their story? And finally, how good is their design? These are the 5 main categories I'll be using to judge each abnormality, and these are the tiers. So anyways, let's get this long explanation out of the way and get into my ranking of each one of the ZAYIN class abnormalities. Also, I'll be doing this in alphabetical order. Ironic how this is our first ZAYIN class abnormality that I have to review and rank. I like Army in Black, so he's going to I like you. Army in Black has a very interesting concept, that he is an Aleph in disguise as a ZAYIN class abnormality. Though it's pretty obvious that the guy is an Aleph because of how expensive his information is and how much PE boxes you can gain from him. I'm kind of disappointed by that. I wish they focuses more on the fact that he's a disguising as a ZAYIN. A missed opportunity in my opinion. He's not gonna go up any higher because he is one of those abnormalities that escape if clerks or employees dies. Those abnormalities are very annoying, especially in a violent noon. It's basically a guarantee that they will escape if a violent noon is coming up. Army in Black, in my opinion, is quite useful because of its ego equipment. Seriously, it's really good. Give it to somebody and they're basically unstoppable, especially if they have Army in Black's ego gift. With his ego equipment, you can make Gabura's core suppression 3rd phase a joke. Its ability is also pretty good. It basically heals the entire department you send it to. Overall, I think Army in Black is a pretty good abnormality. There's just some things I wish that were a little better. Yes, the most unique abnormality in the game, in my opinion. As the name implies, don't touch it, because bad things would happen. What type of bad things, you may ask? Well, there is three outcomes if you do touch the button. First, it will kill every single one of your employees. Second, it will make every single one of your employees go insane. And lastly, it will reduce all of the Kifel counters of all of the abnormalities in your facility to zero, basically making every single abnormality escape. So I advise to not touch it because it would cause the apocalypse, I think. Also, you can't touch it in the preparation phase. Normally, you can click the portrait of the abnormality to see all of the information you've gathered. But if you do click Don't Touch Me, well, it crashes your game. Also, this abnormality has a special ability of mimicking the appearance of other abnormalities in hopes of making you click it, though it can't change the name right above it. I don't really like this abnormality, it just gets in the way most of the times. The only time I've actually clicked it is by accident or because of another abnormality special ability that I'll be talking about later. So its placement would be right here. It's not that dangerous as long as you know what it does. You can ignore it for the rest of the run. The only time it can actually pose a threat is when you combine it with another abnormality that's in this list of abnormalities. So just wait for it or skip it if you want to know already. I don't know what to say about Fairy Festival. I neither like them nor hate them, so they're going to the meh ranking. There is really nothing special about them, which makes sense. They are one of the first abnormalities you will get. Of course, they'll be in much more in the simpler side. Anyways, their special ability is whoever works with the abnormality will be followed around by multiple fairies and will be periodically heal said employee. But if the employee being followed by the fairies gets assigned to work with another abnormality rather than fairy festival, that they will immediately die and get eaten by the fairies. Anyways, that's it. I don't really have anything much to say about fairy festival. Our very first item abnormality. I'll be honest, item abnormalities scare me more than Aleph class abnormalities because they can be a lot more unpredictable with what they can do. It's basically a guaranteed if you use a item for the first time, the employee using it will die. And the way of figuring out their special ability is by either having it equipped or using it for a duration of time or using it multiple times. Anyways, with that, mirror of adjustment is one of the more useful item abnormalities. It just rearranges the levels of each one of the stats of your employee that used it. And if an employee that already used it for today and used it again, it will just lower the stats. It's a very useful early on in your playthrough. You can get an employee to level 5 justice very early on, which is nice because justice is the most expensive to level up. Anyways, with that, I shall put you in the I like you rank. It's just a simple and useful abnormality. I don't really like this abnormality item, but I don't really mind it. It really depends on the situation, really. Old Faith and Promise has the ability to either increase the damage of the weapon of the employee using it or destroy the weapon of the employee. So you can tell when you first get it, it might be a little annoying when you don't know what it does. With that, I'll be ranking it here. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on it. You might see the pattern of me having less things to say to the abnormalities in the meh ranking. Yes, one sin and 100 of good deeds. Or in short, one sin or one bro. And as the name implies, one bro is a bro. One bro is the very first abnormality you will ever get in the game. And the guy is pretty chill. He doesn't have a special ability or anything. You have to actively try to get your employees to go insane because of him. He doesn't even kill any of your employees. Though I'm pretty certain in the legacy edition, he can kill your employees, but that's in the past. Anyways, the current one bro is, in my opinion, the chillest abnormality in the game. He will also suppress the hardest abnormality in the game if it escapes, so that's a plus. This abnormality is in the meh ranking. So just like every other abnormality in the meh ranking, I have nothing really to talk about them. They don't have anything really special. If you get a good result with them, the employee doing the work will get healed, and if they get a bad result, they die. That's it. That's the entire gimmick. But I do quite like that they're shrimp men, so I do have something that I like about them. I wasn't able to get any footage of Plague Doctor because let's just say the guy turned into a floating fetus with wings. So here's me suppressing a silent orchestra while doing Chesed's core suppression. Ah, Plague Doctor. This prick. I honestly hate Plague Doctor because of two things. First, its special ability. Remember what I said in the Don't Touch Me segment? How if you combined it with the special ability of a abnormality in this list, it would genuinely pose a threat? Well, this is the abnormality I was talking about. You see, its special ability is to switch the position of every abnormality in your facility every day. And you can understand how can that be a problem because Don't Touch Me's mimicry ability. Also, it's genuinely annoying. You have to reposition every single one of your employees every day. And secondly, you see, every time you send an employee to go work with it and get a good result, that employee will get blessed by the Plague Doctor. The blessed employee will get a stat increase and won't be able to work with Plague Doctor. At first, you might think that's great. But once you get 12 employees that get blessed by the Plague Doctor, something big will happen. I am not going to spoil it because I'll explain what happens in the future video. But for those who know, all I can say is good luck. With all this, Plague Doctor, you'll be going in the Don't Talk to Me. I don't like this abnormality because it just kills the employee you sent to work with it. So, what it does is you send an employee in over a duration of time, it will deal red damage, and over time, it will deal more red damage. You can't order the employee to stop the work with we can't change anything. The only time it stops is when the employee dies. Though every time the employee gets damaged, you will also gain PE boxes. In my opinion, it's not worth it. You can gain easily more PE boxes by just working with Aleph class abnormalities. And when you first get it, it literally forces you to sacrifice multiple employees to it to get all of its information into 100% the game. I would have put this in the Don't Talk to Me rank, but because it doesn't get affected by Clive meltdowns, I'll put it in I prefer somebody else. I like You Must Be Happy. It's surprisingly useful if you can get the timing correct. So what it does is if you send an employee to use it, they will get an increase or decrease in stats, and depending on how long the employee uses it, the stat increase or decrease will get higher. If you stop the work when the machine says yes, the employee will get a temporary stat boost for the day only. If you stop the work when the machine says no, the employee will get a temporary stat decrease for that day only. But there are two things you need to keep in mind. First, you can only use it 5 times with each employee. If an employee that already has used it for 5 times and you send them again to use it, they'll die immediately. Second, if the temporary stat increase combined with the base stat of the employee is above 200, they will disappear the next day. So I mainly recommend using this early on in the game. Okay, I'm certain that I'm gonna get a bunch of people mad because of this. Yeah, I know, bald is awesome. It deserves to be at the top. But I prefer my employees to keep their hair, okay? This abnormality is bald is awesome. It makes anyone bald, alright? That's basically it. If you send an employee to work with it that is not bald, they would become bald. If you send another employee that is not bald to work with it, everybody in the department that bald is awesome is located will become bald. If you send another employee that is not bald to work with it, everybody in your facility would become bald. And like I said, I prefer everybody in my facility to keep their hair. So that's all of the ZAYIN class abnormalities. If you disagree with my ranking, comment your opinion. I would love to know your opinion on the matter. Anyways, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching to the end. If you're wondering what's my next video going to be, it's going to be the most recent event in Genshin Impact. That would be the new Golden Apple Archipelago event. Don't worry, if you want to know my thoughts on every single abnormality in Lobotomy Corporation, I will be doing a video on each of the risk levels. So the next one is going to be about the 10th level class abnormalities. Anyways, if this video gets popular enough and people really want to, I might make a let's play series of Lobotomy Corporation, but I highly doubt that, and plus it would be garbage as hell because I already know what every single abnormality does. Though I do have an idea to make it much more interesting. So yeah. Also, I got this video idea from dualblades. If you want to watch their ranking video, I'll link it in the description. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and goodbye.